Part 39. Mysterious Journey. Author, Gunkai. Chapter 384. Isn't that someone from a secret agency? Why don't you go and meet them? Feng Ling looked at Garen beside him and asked in a low voice. This guy seems to be in a good mood, and he probably won't get angry. I don't want to meet my colleagues so early yet. The three major agencies must have noticed something strange here when I took action. In other words, they already knew that the stronghold here was the Black Sky Society branch. They just didn't want to take action. Garen explained with a smile. You know very well, Feng Chime smiled bitterly. The three major institutions are indeed very powerful, but there are only so many people on the surface. The number of people with the strongest power can be counted on one hand. And some of them have joined our Black Sky Club a long time ago. No. It can no longer be said that we are from the Black Sky Club. Now that I have done so much, I am no longer considered a member of the Black Sky Club. It is estimated that my bounty in the club will exceed tens of millions. Do you know the origin of this generation of presidents of the Black Sky Society? Garen suddenly asked. You also discovered it? Feng Chime was not surprised. He sat down on the black mist behind him, which was like a soft sofa. He crossed his legs and was moved forward quickly by the black mist. The president, Animon, was once one of the great nobles of Sunia. Rather than saying that the Black Sky Society is an independent organization, it is better to say that it is simply a part that broke away from the large aristocratic group. The elite members who make up the Black Sky Society, they are all outstanding elites in the aristocratic class. Because they were dissatisfied with the almost constant hegemony of the Royal Alliance, some of the noble geniuses ran away and formed the Black Sky Society. Others, because of different ideas, formed the three tribes with the support of the Council of Elders. A big agency. So, the nobility is the root of everything. Only nobles have such a strong accumulation of knowledge. Garen nodded in agreement. Ordinary people have no way and are not qualified to have access to such top-notch technical knowledge. What are we going to do next? Feng Chime looked at Garen on the left. How many strongholds have we eliminated? With this, there are already 9. It is estimated that no matter whether it is the royal family, the Black Sky Society, or any other force, all your information must have been placed on the table of their intelligence department. Is this the fastest way to become famous? Feng Chime couldn't understand Jia Lung anymore. It's a pity that giant stone statue. It would be great if it could be taken away. Garen suddenly touched his chin and changed the subject. In the next 4 days, Garen and Feng Zhone continued to attack the Black Sky Society's strongholds in Ennet Kingdom, but many of the strongholds were already empty. Apparently Black Sky Society has urgently gathered its manpower. Except for the largest strongholds in Ennet, there are no people in the other branches. The nickname Eight-Headed Mist Crow replaced Garen's previous nickname of Mist Crow and was widely spread by some good people and those who watched the battle. The 8 poems represent the 8-headed lizard dragon, and the fog crows represent the black clouds and fog crows that fill the sky. These are the 2 most powerful features of Galen. His achievements were also unearthed one by one and sent to the heads of the intelligence departments of the major forces. Because of its powerful speed, it fought in 2 countries in just a few days. It destroyed a Black Sky Society branch in Enite Mirror in just over 10 minutes, without even having time to support the headquarters. His strong strength and record made Garen famous overnight. At this time, Garen also received a contact request from a nearby secret agency. Garen and Feng Ling were sitting in the dense maple leaf forest, just sitting on the thick fallen leaves. There was a white cloth between them, with some food and drink placed on it. Jam bread, air-dried lamb, and 2 bottles of black apple juice. This was their lunch today. The faint golden sunlight projected through the leaves above and fell on the 2 of them, appearing mottled and fragmented. A big squirrel with 3 big tails was lying on the edge of the white dinner cloth. It was all yellow-brown and furry. The 3 big tails were swinging like wheels, sweeping the fallen leaves on the ground everywhere. The big squirrel was licking a small ball of red jam that Garen threw over. Looks like he's enjoying himself. He stuck his butt out and swung his tail even more roundly. It's so leisurely. Feng Ling put one hand on the ground, rubbed his belly vigorously, and swallowed the last bite of bread in his mouth. No. It seems like I'm full. He peeked at Garen opposite. This handsome young man was eating the dried meat in small bites. His speed had not changed since the beginning. His face was calm and his movements were graceful. He tore off a piece and put it directly into his mouth without spilling any minced meat. The tablecloth in front of me was clean, as if it had been cleaned thoroughly with a rag, and not a single bit of edible food was left. Of the two halves of the food they had divided, he still had most of it left, while Garen had only the last morsel left. Your appetite is really spectacular. Feng Chime thought for a moment and changed to a more elegant and euphemistic word. It's because you eat too little, Garen replied calmly. The wind chimes are speechless. Puff 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 puff. Suddenly there was a subtle flapping sound from the small black box on Garen's collar. Garen slowed down his movements, put down the food in his hands, and wiped his hands with the paper towel on the side. A sound soon came from the black box. Mist Crow? Are you the 8-souled Mist Crow Galen? It was a man's voice, very clear, with a hint of neutrality. This is the headquarters of the secret organization Kuwaitan. My name is McKeon. I am the current director of the General Bureau and the leader of the strongest silver team. I am currently contacting you through long-distance signal transmission. We have 3 minutes of safe time. Ensure that it will not be eavesdropped or decompiled by other forces. It turns out to be the Director General. A smile appeared on Garen's lips. Is there anything you can contact me about? Are you inside Ennet right now? I have a task here. I wonder if you are willing to take it. Chief Mike's tone was very polite. Just say it. Well, in the territory of Ennet, Yelling, a master of the Mathematics Agency, and a master of the Black Sky Society are competing for a special secret treasure. Most of the strong men from both sides have gathered there. We hope that you will join the battle on behalf of our secret agency. See if there is a chance to grab the secret treasure. Anyway, you happen to be very close to there. This mission will take place within 5 days. No problem. Where's the mission reward? Garen followed without hesitation. After feeling the power of the secret treasure, he is now very interested in the secret treasure. I also understand why many forces value secret treasures so much. To put it simply, the secret treasure is the aggregation of countless complex spells, which can input the light or power of the totem at any time to stimulate powerful or multi-purpose power. For imitations of ultimate secret treasures like the Mist Crow formation, as long as they have enough totem power or totem light, without any skills, ordinary totem masters can instantly become a top spiritual powerhouse. The reward will naturally not be bad. A set of magic formations that will definitely satisfy you, and considering your father's relationship, there is no doubt that the Terry Jones family is loyal to the royal family. I have submitted a request to reconfer the land to the above. As long as you complete this mission, the Terry Jones family will regain a satisfactory fiefdom in the existing human settlement area. McKeon also had a deep smile in his tone. A fiefdom, a powerful and comprehensive set of magic spells, this is a true place of one's own in troubled times. Garen was also slightly moved. If there was such a fiefdom, he could move the subordinates of the Terry Jones family, as well as relatives and friends, as well as friends and family members, to one place for centralized protection. And Teacher Enning, I don't know what's going on now. Garen briefly recalled the location and planned to go to the teacher's place to have a look first. After coming back to his senses, he quickly thanked her heartily. Then I would like to thank the Director General in advance. With such a generous reward, it seems that the secret treasure this time is not simple. Of course. The mathematics department originally wanted to take it all by itself, but unfortunately it failed, and the rest of us will have a chance." McKeon replied with a smile, "Those guys in the mathematics department have their eyes high, and this time they actually succeeded. Being entangled by the people from the Black Sky Society will probably make you lose face. I'll see how they end it, haha." He paused and said, "Also, didn't you clear out the Black Sky Society's stronghold earlier? I'll send you a more detailed distribution map. It's a good thing we just got." "Fat? How?" Garen was stunned. "I miss you." Okay, Garen was worried that Feng Ling knew too few strongholds and killed them too cleanly when he started, so the sweep was nearing its end. "When I wanted to sleep, someone brought me a pillow." This time he was addicted to sweeping. Although most of them are low-level totem masters, the ones with Type 1 and Type 2 are the most numerous. But it can't handle the large quantity. It's almost the same as when the petrified white dragon was still there. A Type 1 totem or monster can provide about 25% of potential, a Type 2 totem or monster can provide about 2 points, and a Type 3 can provide about 5 points. The spiritual light level suddenly increased to 15 points. After writing down the information on the distribution of strongholds given by McKeon, Garen glanced at his current potential points. After unknowingly massacring hundreds of Black Sky Club members, his potential has exceeded 200. After thinking about it, Garen decided to first increase his agility to its current limit. His eyes fell directly on the agility column. The potential value suddenly began to jump violently and fell down. Agility increases rapidly from 6.0. After 5 points, each attribute improvement requires 20 potential points. Soon, a total of 40 potential points disappeared. Agility has also been increased to 8. Starting from 8 points, each point of improvement requires 60 potential points. The remaining 160 potential points were quickly reduced to about 40 points. The agility finally reached 10 points, then stopped completely and stopped moving. Garen clenched his fists in satisfaction. The whole body seems to be surrounded by invisible wind. As long as it moves slightly, it seems that all the weight of the body has disappeared, and the whole person is light and has no sense of sluggishness. He felt the condition of the eight-headed dragon, and sure enough, the ninth head on the back of the eight-headed dragon was rapidly expanding, and the huge sarcoma was getting bigger and redder. Mysterious Journey. Author, Gunkai. Chapter 385. Garen was sitting cross-legged on the grass, and a subtle black air unconsciously emitted from his body, spreading deep into the surroundings like mist. He quietly sensed the ninth head of the eight-headed dragon. The blood tumor was getting bigger and redder, as if it was about to explode at any moment. Unknowingly, Feng Chime also noticed something strange about him, and quickly stayed away without saying anything. Along the way, Galen had become accustomed to this situation every time, not once or twice, but many times. It seems that he is checking his physical condition, which is similar to those of mortal masters. But this time it seems a little different. The wind chime carefully looked at the black smoke around Galen. It smelled very good and rich, like the aroma of many spices burned together. I couldn't tell what the smell was, but it didn't feel pungent, a bit like the scent of sandalwood. Suddenly, he was slightly startled, as if he felt that the skin on the surface of his body was a little numb. He reached out and pinched the skin on the back of his hand, but he felt nothing. Feng Chime was suddenly startled and quickly retreated more than 10 meters. Only then did he recover from the numbness in his body. What kind of smell is this? It can paralyze the sensory nerves without even realizing it. Feng Chime stared at Garen not far away with lingering fear. At this time, Garen's body was covered in a large piece of light black mist, and even his face was vaguely blurred. Here we go again, playing such dangerous tricks without saying a word. Do you know that this can kill people? Feng Chime muttered in a low voice. My dear Ywa, when can Daddy see you and my cute little Bartus again? He became depressed, sighed, and walked to a bluestone in the distance to sit down. He didn't mind that it was dirty. Time passes minute by minute. Soon the light at noon gradually tilted up, and the sun became a little red. The wind blowing through the forest also brings a touch of soft warmth. Wind Chime sat on the bluestone and dozed off. The biggest advantage of traveling with Garin was that there was not a single dangerous creature around Garin within a kilometer or two. Whether it's a mutated creature or a powerful monster created through experiments. There was no trace of them all. The monsters seemed to be able to sense the dangerous aura on Garin's body, and they fled one after another. So every time he can completely relax and rest peacefully. When Feng Jie was in a daze, he seemed to hear a faint cry for help. Help, help, mixed with the sounds of violent running and breathing, there was a faint voice of a child in the distance. This is a wild forest not far from the gathering place of humans. It is estimated that some children who cannot survive are in danger when they come out to find a living. Feng Ling thought this. Unlike Garin, he had a good understanding of the lives of ordinary people in troubled times. Because his two children are just ordinary people and do not have the qualifications of a Silver Lantern Master. Without him, they would probably have died of hunger long ago. Never mind it, Feng Ling didn't want to pay attention to it. He encountered many such situations along the way, including adults, old people, strong men, and beautiful girls. But neither he nor Garin bothered to care. Ordinary people in such troubled times, without fields to cultivate and various talents, can only venture out to collect various rare medicinal herbs to provide raw materials for various medicines. In many wilderness areas that have been initially cleared, the risk is still relatively low. Many ordinary people who have money hire one or two totem masters to go out to collect, and they are not likely to encounter danger. Only the first line of defense will have fierce life and death confrontations every day. In such times, life is extremely difficult for ordinary people. The voice is getting closer and closer, and the more it sounds like my own child's voice. Feng Chime also became more and more irritable. For a moment, I thought of my own children, if they also encountered such a situation. He finally stood up and walked towards the direction of the sound. Anyway, Garin usually takes a while to finish. Garin slowly opened his eyes, the red light flashing in his eyes. Still failed. After all, the ninth had failed to hatch successfully. The agility had reached its extreme, and the last intelligence factor was left. Is it necessary to completely top up the last item to the physical limit? This thought flashed through Garin's mind. Come to your senses. Wind chimes, he was surprised not to see the wind chimes. The surrounding woods were blown by the wind, and there was the sound of leaves rustling. Apart from that, there was no other sound. A small, non-mutated scorpion slowly crawled past his feet, and then jumped into a small hole in the ground. On a branch in the distance, the three-tailed squirrel just now was holding a ball of jam covered with broken leaves, sticking its butt out and trying to stuff the jam into a nutshell. Garin withdrew his gaze and glanced around. Boss, there may be some discoveries here. The sound of wind chimes came from the distance. Garin stood up and walked directly through a small forest. When he saw Feng Chine squatting in front of a deep pit, inspecting something, his face looked a little solemn. What happened? Garin frowned and walked over. This hole is a little weird, Feng Chime whispered. Although he is not as good as Garin, he is still the elemental general of the Black Sky Society, and he is very powerful. Even without the secret treasure, ordinary spiritual transformations are no match for him. But now he actually showed a troubled expression. Obviously the situation may be a bit troublesome. What's going on? Garin leaned over and looked into the hole. Suddenly, a stench rushed towards him from inside the cave. He held his breath and frowned slightly. Suddenly, he felt a faint feeling of weakness coming from the eight-headed dragon totem, which seemed to be caused by the stench just now. What is this? Garin was about to take a step back. Suddenly there was a strong push from behind. This force doesn't have any malicious intent, it's just a simple push. Garen turned around and saw a mysterious smile on Feng Chime's face. The strange thing is that Garen's body was pushed forward violently, but his upper body only tilted and his steps did not move at all. Both of them were stunned for a moment. Garen was stunned by the strange changes in the wind chime. The opponent, on the other hand, couldn't understand that his full push only caused Garen to tilt slightly. What's going on? The poisonous gas of the swamp night lizard is actually ineffective on you. Fen Ling's face was slightly stunned, as if he couldn't believe it. This is poisonous gas that can instantly weaken the five-headed spiritual light totem. Poison gas, a trace of ferocity appeared on Garen's face. An invisible vortex suddenly appeared behind the wind chime. Click. The huge dragon's mouth was empty. The figure of the wind chime turned out to be like an illusion, slowly beginning to fade into nothingness, becoming increasingly faint and illusory. Idiot. Do you think I will stay there and wait for you to attack? I really don't know how your IQ grows. Is your brain full of muscles? A mysterious smile appeared on Feng Chime's face again. You are not Feng Chime, who are you? Garen looked at the other person who was quickly illusory, and his five senses quickly and carefully distinguished all the movements around him, trying to find the other person's location. The second elemental general of the Black Sky Society, you can call me the illusionist. The figure finally disappeared completely, leaving only a faint voice. Illusionist, Garen snorted coldly, a fierce light flashing in his eyes. Glancing at the black hole on the ground, the stench inside quickly dissipated, as if it had never appeared. His eyebrows lit up red. The 8 heads of the 8-headed dragon slowly appeared behind him. Roar. The violent roar turned into a circle of pale white sound waves, spreading crazily in all directions. Large swathes of maple leaves were shaken outwards and turned radioactive. There was no movement around. The black light array under Garen's feet suddenly lit up, and he jumped straight up, exuding a black mist in mid-air, suspending the package. Quack. Countless black mists surged out and turned into tens of thousands of mist crows, flying in all directions like ink dots to search. With a gloomy face, Garen searched the entire area of more than 10 kilometers over and over again. Finding nothing, his expression turned cold. At this time, the surrounding environment suddenly became slightly distorted. The surrounding environment seemed to change suddenly. Bursts of dull crashing sounds came from not far away suddenly. Only then did Garen realize that he had been in the hallucination of the illusionist, and he didn't even feel it at all. The opponent's illusion has reached an extremely terrifying level, and the simulated environment is exactly the same as the real forest environment. The shock in his heart was quickly suppressed. Garen heard the faint curse of the wind chimes coming from the sound of impact. He walked over, passed through a small patch of trees, and saw that the wind chime was trapped in a triangular semi-permeable membrane magic array. The whole body of the magic array was slightly yellow, and it was built with 3 white stones below as base points. The 3 stones have been slightly broken and cracked. Wow! The triangular magic array finally shattered. Feng Chime walked out of it with an angry face. It's that bitch from the illusionist. He was not as angry as usual. How dare you play with my feelings? He suddenly saw Garen with an unhappy look on his face, shuddered quickly and stopped talking. This illusionist is quite troublesome. Garen felt very unhappy as he felt the stubborn poison lingering in his body. Surprisingly, even the 8-headed dragon cannot completely resist this poisonous gas. You must know that the 8-headed dragon is also an apex creature full of poison, but it is still not immune to this poison. It can be imagined that Black Sky Society really used the most precious good things this time. The purpose of the illusionist's coming here is probably to poison himself in advance to weaken his own strength. The next step is probably to be a violent pursuit and attack. Carefully feel the state of your body. Garen felt a little relieved. Although the eight-headed dragon is not immune to this poison, it can greatly weaken the effect of the poison. 2 of the 8 heads of the eight-headed dragon were in a comatose and weak state and could not be used. The skin was slightly corroded, and the defense of the dragon's skin was somewhat weakened. As a result, the power of the dragon roar was also weakened to 3/4 of its original value. Just 3 times the size of a 2-headed lizard dragon. That is, only 6 heads can work. Boss, is it possible that you have been tricked? Feng Chime looked at Garen's expression cautiously. It's a bit troublesome, Garen said calmly. The illusionist said it was a poisonous gas called swamp night lizard. Swamp night lizard? Oh my god, Feng Chime's eyes widened suddenly, and he put his hands into his hair and grabbed it hard. It's over, it's over. It is said that this thing lasts for a long time. Without the dispelling potion, it will be impossible to remove it for a lifetime. It will permanently weaken half of the core totem. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Mysterious Journey. Author, Gunkai. Chapter 386. Garen had never heard of this toxin. No matter what. Get out of here first. As for the illusionist, we can settle the score with him later. Yes. They will definitely arrive soon. Feng Ling betrayed Haitian society so many times and has long been included in Haitian society's hunting list. The reason why they haven't encountered any danger for so long is because the two people's whereabouts are unpredictable, their speed is extremely fast, and it's difficult to control them. That's why they didn't encounter any crisis or pursuit. What they were actually fighting for was this time difference, to destroy the stronghold before the opponent's reinforcements arrived, and then leave. But now the pursuers of Black Sky Society have finally caught up. The illusionist's illusion was far more powerful than any illusion totem Garen had ever seen before. Whether it was the 5 senses or the body's instinctive premonition of crisis, they were all taken into consideration by the opponent. Even when he was poisoned in the end, the illusionist didn't have a trace of malice in his heart. Otherwise, you will be wiped out by Galen in an instant. Without stopping, the two people quickly left here, were picked up by the Black Crow, and flew towards the location of Garen's teacher Enon. Along the way, Garen was always on guard against the illusionary environment of the illusionist. Even he couldn't tell the difference between true and false hallucinations. It was obvious that Black Sky Society had really spent a lot of money this time, and the lineup they used was not as powerful as usual. He is also trying to experiment with poison-removing secret weapons such as Ruby Palm. Fortunately, the Ruby Palm did have some effect, but it was not very strong. It only slightly alleviated the softening and corrosion of the dragon's skin, but the weak state of the 2 dragon heads still could not be relieved. In the maple leaf forest, the place where Garen and his 2 men were standing before. I've already poisoned you, a voice suddenly came from the air. No one could be seen anywhere, but there was this androgynous voice. Thank you, sir. How was the effect? A slim female figure in black robe slowly walked out from the depths of the forest and stood where Garen was standing before. Her voice was enchanting, with a hint of magnetism, and a sticky feeling. At this time, he also seemed a little respectful when asking. It's not that good. The 8-headed fog crow is very resistant to poison. By taking down so many of our strongholds in succession, the entire elite department has been embarrassed. A neutral voice came again. The rest is up to you. I still have a mission, and this time it's my last favor to return your father. Don't bother me again in the future. Thank you very much. From now on, you and my father will owe nothing to each other, the female in black robe said in a calm voice. That's good, the neutral voice no longer sounded. The female in black robe waited for a while, until no more sounds were heard at all, and her tense body suddenly relaxed slightly. Only then did she realize that her forehead was covered with fine beads of sweat. Soon another man in black robes came out from behind her. "That monster is gone," the man in black robes had a shrill voice. There was also a sense of relief in his tone. "Let's go." The woman let out a long breath. "Every time you face that guy, you have to increase your energy by 120%. If you are not careful, you will be tricked." "Why do I have to face that guy every time?" "Guy? Who told you that you were the only one who could invite him?" The man shrugged helplessly. "If my father hadn't asked me to relieve him, I wouldn't have wanted to come over." The woman pressed her chest with lingering fear. "That eight-headed mist crow ruined my father's overall plan in a night. If we don't deal with him, it will be an insurmountable obstacle for our family." "Where is your brother?" "He's not back yet." "It's almost time," the woman replied in a low voice. When he heard that his father was almost injured, he immediately put down the task at hand and rushed back. He also invited friends he recognized as helpers. "That's good. The pursuit team from the headquarters is almost here. Let's go meet them." "Ken." Boom. An invisible vortex in front of Garen violently knocked away a white electric ball. He walked leisurely in the heavy rain of countless white electric balls, looking up at the giant white bird that kept swooping in the sky and spitting out white electric balls. Each of these giant birds has a wingspan of more than 10 meters. They have no feathers on their bodies and are all white. Their wings are fleshy wings similar to those of pterosaurs. They fly in groups, numbering in the thousands, all over the sky. Like white feathers flying and circling in the sky. A large amount of white electric current was densely sprayed towards Garen, hitting him accurately one by one, like a precision-guided missile. It can also fly in turns. Garen took out the black pocket watch and gently rubbed the surface with his fingers. Suddenly large waves of black mist poured out from the pocket watch, turning into black fog crows that screamed strangely and pounced directly on the strange white birds in the sky. Black and white birds tangled together. From time to time, white birds fell down, and many fog crows were defeated into black mist, which could not regroup for a while, as if the electric current of the electric ball had a strong paralyzing effect. After Garen released the fog crow, he didn't even look at the sky. Instead, he looked straight around. He was standing on an open grassland. The green grass was rolling and green, and there were green hills of various sizes everywhere. There was nothing unusual about it. The golden sunlight shines down, coating everything with a light golden color. Wind Chime followed him with a bored expression on his face. "Where are we going now?" "Go to a small town on the border of Kuwaitan." Garen looked up and saw more and more white birds being shot down and killed. The remaining white birds suddenly panicked and fled away in the distance, like a broken piece of land. Of white clouds. He took a look at the increase in potential value, which was pretty good. The group of monsters that dared to ignore his aura and challenge him were no ordinary group. Just like this flock of white birds, they can spit out white plasma balls that automatically track and attack enemies. Each ball is the size of a football and has amazing power. It can instantly turn a Type 2 totem into coke. This also resulted in an entire flock of white birds occupying the entire transition zone between forest and grassland. Garen's intrusion made them extremely angry, so they attacked in groups, and finally fled in defeat. Keep moving forward. Garen retracted the black mist in the sky, rolled up two masses of black energy, took the two of them with him, and flew straight forward. The two of them were suspended in the air 1 meter above the ground, flying quickly towards the Red River on the border of Kuwaitan. They have left Linhai for 2 days. In addition to traveling every day, I just kill monsters. Then during Garen's flight, he kept trying to detoxify during rest periods, but all ended in vain. An illusionist made Garen slightly stop looking down on the Black Sky Society branch. He became cautious again, always paying attention to his surroundings. 1 swamp night lizard toxin is enough. If 1 or 2 more of these toxins come in, will he still be alive? Along the way, he kept asking Feng Chime about the level of elemental general. I also understand a little bit about the top-level power distribution of Black Sky Society. In the Black Sky Society in Dongzhou, two marshals preside over the situation, one is Shinayun and the other is Hek. The two generals manage three parts of the organization, the elite department, the military department, and Mahakala. The other intelligence departments and logistics departments were all placed under Mahakala, which was the institution where Feng Chime was originally from. This is also the reason why he has a relatively clear understanding of the entire Black Sky Society situation. Both commanders have a general who is known as the strongest elemental general, and Marshal Hek has an illusionist under his command. And under Marshal Shinayun is a man named Bing. The two of them ranked first and second in the entire Dongzhou Black Sky Society. The illusionist is ranked second. Unlike Zizhu, the situation in Dongzhou is relatively weak, so there are only two commanders in charge. The strength of the illusionist is considered to be among the top three in the entire two-continent system. Sometimes it is difficult for even the marshal to command him. After all, the Black Sky Society is an organization driven entirely by profit, and behind each member there is a complete and huge family power. The strength of the members themselves and the power of the family complement each other. While Garen was removing the poison, he remembered the name of the illusionist in his mind. Along the way, as Garen continued to add potential points to his intelligence, he gradually discovered that the blood tumor on the last head of the eight-headed dragon was larger. When he checked the core totem, the poisonous mist emanating from his body became denser. What surprised him the most was that the poison in the totem seemed to have begun to ease with the evolution of the eight-headed dragon. I believe that as long as the intelligence is pushed to the limit, when the eight-headed dragon finally evolves into the nine-headed dragon, it will be the time to get rid of the toxin of the swamp night lizard. The two kept changing their routes and soon arrived at the edge of a turbid red river. On the green grassland, the red river is like a winding centipede, stretching into the distance with no end in sight. Many animals gathered in twos and threes by the river, playing and drinking water. The two of them were wrapped in black mist and flew directly along the red river. Wherever they passed, the animals below panicked and fled in all directions. From a distance, Garen and the two could vaguely see the town of Wink. The town still stands among the white and yellow flowers, but some of the houses inside are collapsed and some are damaged, making it appear silent and deserted. Several mutated gray rabbits with spikes on their backs were jumping around the streets of the town. Garen and Fengqi slowly landed on the small bridge at the entrance of the town. Quietly looking into the silent town. Has a new biological chain been formed so quickly? Feng Ling had a complicated look on his face when he saw the gray rabbit with white bone spikes. I don't know what I remembered. Let's go and take a look first. Garen walked into the town first. Although he knew from the original history that his teacher Aining would definitely not die, but would eventually show up in the historical war, he just felt uneasy and came to make sure. Soon, with Garen taking the lead, the two walked directly to the familiar small building at the end of the town. The small building is made of wood and is reddish-brown in color. Miraculously, it is intact, just like the moment after Jialong left after completing his studies. Garen pushed open the wooden fence outside the building, and with a creaking sound, he walked directly into the yard. The flowers and plants in the yard are still as gorgeous as ever. A relaxed smile reappeared on Garen's face. He walked to the door of the small building and reached out to knock on the door gently. Suddenly his face froze. Mysterious Journey. Author, Gunkai. Chapter 387. Garen's eyes fell on a speck of white on the edge of the doorframe. It was a bit of white powdery stuff, and it actually gave off a faint white light. He stretched out his index finger and lightly applied white powder. Put it to your nose and smell it. Pollen. Garen's face turned cold. This power wave? What's wrong? The questioning sound of wind chimes came from behind. It's probably weird that this building is still intact. Feng Chime came up from behind, Why don't you go in? Garen retracted his hand. Forget it. I already know what I want. He turned around and walked down the steps, heading outside. Hey. Why don't you go in and take a look when you're already at the door? By the way, what on earth are you doing here? Feng Ling hurriedly followed him. Garen ignored him and walked out of the small building. He turned back and took one last look at the familiar small building. Let's go directly to the next stronghold. Are you still going? Feng Ling was stunned. We have raided so many strongholds, why are you still going? Since you can't think of it, then they certainly won't think of it either. So if we go for a sneak attack now, the chance of success is definitely not small, Garen said lightly. Feng Qi scratched his head. Every time he went to the Black Sky Society's stronghold, he felt frightened. He had to find a place to hide in advance to avoid being discovered by the Black Sky Society's people. Every time Garen was conducting a sweep, he would observe the surroundings vigilantly and report any signs of trouble immediately. His safety is now tightly tied to Garen. Aren't you worried about the poison on your body at all? He curiously caught up with Garen and asked. It doesn't matter, I thought of a way to resolve it. Garen smiled and seemed to have returned to normal. The two of them had just walked out of the small building, but the town in front of them had unknowingly changed into something else. From the intact house, dark blue human-shaped flowers suddenly walked out. The blue flowers have human-shaped white roots, 2 legs and 2 hands, swaying and twisting like noodles. The head is a huge blue flower the size of a basin. These flowers walked silently, and came towards the location where Garen and the two were. There are blue flowers everywhere on the street, in the houses next door, and on the roofs. They were like timid little people, quietly surrounding galleons and wind chimes. Garen frowned slightly, and thick black smoke suddenly appeared from his body. It shrouded in all directions. Countless black fog crows appeared one after another, screaming strangely and rushing towards these flower people. The fog crow just folded its wings and shot out like a sharp arrow. The flower people around it suddenly fell one by one like wheat. Hiss. Suddenly Garen turned around and looked at the garden behind him. In front of the small red-brown building, in the small garden, a blue flower figure more than 3 meters high was standing quickly. Holding a huge blue flower with a diameter of more than 2 meters, it stood up and stretched like a complete human being. In the middle of the flower of the blue flower giant, there is actually a big blue O-shaped mouth. It was constantly opening and closing like a fish's mouth, with traces of sticky acid flowing out. Garen narrowed his eyes. The air in front of me twisted. Crack. An invisible transparent dragon's mouth bit out fiercely. The blue light curtain in front of the blue flower giant instantly shattered, scattering a large number of blue light spots. Its entire head was immediately bitten off and disappeared into the invisible dragon's mouth. Feng Chime was holding a small silver-black round mirror on the side to check something. Suddenly he saw that the flower giant had no head, and his face suddenly darkened. Can't you wait until I calculate the comprehensive data before eating? Puff. Garen's expression suddenly changed. Hands covering stomach. A huge red dragon's mouth opened suddenly beside him, and actually appeared directly. Then there was a crash, and a large number of tattered petals of blue flowers and a large amount of yellow-green acid were vomited out of the dragon's mouth. Sure enough, you can't eat casually, it will ruin your stomach. Garen's face looked a little ugly, and his body was now gradually connected with the 8-headed dragon. The state of the 8-headed dragon will also affect his own state. In turn, his state will also affect the 8-headed dragon, which is the key reason why he can affect the evolution of the 8-headed dragon by improving his physical fitness. But now this influence seems to have a negative effect. Garen felt his stomach churn, and he had the urge to vomit. The red dragon head next to him vomited out the remains of the flower giant, and then disappeared into the void with a dejected expression. Haha, are you hungry? I told you to eat randomly, Feng Ling suddenly laughed proudly. Garen glared at him so hard that he was so frightened that he quickly put away his smile. The remains of the flower giant were piled on the ground, and the yellow-green porridge-like thing was still emitting a strong sour smell. This caused Feng Chime and Garen to quickly retreat and stay away. The whistling sounds of fog crows circling and flying around continued to be heard, and there was no longer a flower man in the entire field of vision. This kind of ordinary Type 1 monster is useless except for acid poison. The strongest flower giant among them is only a Type 2 monster. But this strong stench and acidity can actually make the eight-headed dragon feel sick. Garen felt that he must be cautious in the future and not just stuff something into his stomach when he saw it. The two of them thoroughly cleaned up a side of the town until all the blue flower people were killed, and the mutated monsters around them were so frightened that they ran around and did not dare to get close. Garen was relieved a little. He ran to a random house and squatted on the toilet for more than half an hour before he could soothe his stomach. The eight-headed dragon's overly strong and fast digestion and absorption ability is sometimes a drawback. It was not difficult for Garen, who was proficient in secret martial arts, to completely adjust the abnormalities in his body. After eliminating the acid poison, he used the ruby palm to clean out some residual toxins, and then he completely returned to normal. In fact, this blue flower giant is not poisonous, but the acidic stench is really unbearable to Garen's stomach. Rather than being poisoned and having diarrhea, it is better to say that it is smelly. After coming out of the toilet, Galen walked into the living room of this resident while holding onto the wall. I saw the wind chime playing with the green round mirror in my hand. He walked over and saw lines of alphabetic runes flickering on the mirror. Some of them were spell runes he recognized, but most of them were ones he had never seen before. There is also a black tornado suspended on the mirror, more than 10 centimeters high, suspended in front of the wind chime, like a miniature tornado. This black laughing dragon scroll is completely composed of black gas, and it is constantly spinning at high speed, with traces of blue lightning faintly appearing on the surface. It's like shrinking a real storm tornado countless times and placing it on top of the mirror in front of the wind chime. The entire tornado is only as long as a palm, and its position and speed are constantly adjusted under the hands of the wind chime. "What is this?" Galankai asked. "Is this thing used to simulate weather?" The wind chime holds a black tornado in both hands, seemingly in constant control. "This is a trace of black wind that I brought out from Mahakala. It is mainly used to make various secret treasures and common tools," he answered briefly, controlling the bottom of the small black tornado, and constantly moving it on the mirror to depict what? Black wind. "Well, now that my life is tied to you, the boss, the people in Black Sky Society will definitely want to eat my flesh and drink my blood. I thought about it for a long time and felt that you are pretty good to me. So I decided to protect our safety." "Make some effort," Feng Chime replied while controlling the small tornado. What kind of effort? Garen had never seen the process of making and repairing secret treasures and secret treasure tools, but he was very attentive. "Here. There's already one on the table over there, specially made for you." The wind chime nuzzled towards the small table on the right. Garen looked along and immediately saw a small green mirror placed on the black stone table. He walked over and picked up the mirror, turning it over and looking at it. It is exactly the same as an ordinary vanity mirror, except that the appearance decoration is different. "What does this thing do?" At this time, the wind chime finally put away the black wind, and the small tornado turned into a black airflow and quickly penetrated into a black gemstone ring on his hand. He picked up the repaired small mirror and showed a satisfied expression. When he heard Garen's question, he answered casually. "Detection is mainly for detection. These days, I made a comprehensive statistics based on various situations we encountered." He turned around and faced Garen. "We are likely to face a serial pursuit by the Black Sky Society. Don't look at it now that you seem to have a trump card and are fearless, but the Black Sky Society has countless secret treasures and toxins. As long as you pile up 4 or 5 kinds, Your strength will fall to the lowest point in an instant. In response to this situation, I created this thing. He picked up the small green mirror. I call him the Fury of Wind Chimes, he said with a proud expression. Those old guys from the Black Sky Society really don't care about old friendships. They completely pissed me off. So, I decided to make a substantive expression of my anger. Oh, of course it's you who will do the fighting. Your talent for naming is indeed not very good. Garen was speechless. I think this name is very domineering, right? Feng Chime waved his hand. These are not important. What is important is the function of this thing. He gently put the mirror on his shoulder and pressed hard. Click. The mirror is actually mounted directly on the shoulder blade. Seen from a distance, it looks like he is wearing a diamond-shaped green shoulder armor on his left shoulder, which slightly reflects a mirror-like luster. The shoulder armor extends from the shoulder, and the end grows slightly outward, forming a sharp angle. Isn't it very domineering? Fen Ling looked proud. This little thing has two major functions. The first is to collect the actual physical condition of the wearer and then compare it externally. Anyone who poses a threat to the person will emit a slight red light. The intensity of the red light represents the threat of the other party. Degree. This function is good. Can it detect toxins? Garen suddenly became interested. Of course, Feng Chime nodded. The second function, encrypted message transmission. This function is very simple. Just find a resonance frequency band that no one uses. I have designed a 5-fold encryption. It is absolutely impossible for anyone to crack it, he said with a smile on his face. Using this, we can directly conduct short-distance communication conversations that will not be eavesdropped. The maximum distance is 50 kilometers. If it is stronger, it will be more expensive. Like the last time I was tricked and trapped, without being able to notify you, that situation could have been avoided. This thing is good. Garen nodded approvingly. Can you make a few more? The materials required are more troublesome. They are not very rare, but there are many types. I followed you and collected so many geniuses to make these two. It will probably take a while before I can get another one. Feng Ling spread his hands and said helplessly. Garen imitated his method and pressed the mirror on his left shoulder. With a click, the mirror automatically popped out 4 fixed claws, tightly clasping the shoulders, and the ends quickly extended and poked out, forming a beautiful spike shape. Hey, can you hear me? A dull voice sounded like it was coming from the receiver. The sound was very small, and it was a wind chime. Garen glanced at him and found that he was holding his shoulder armor with one hand and his lips were only moving slightly. The sound doesn't need to be loud, it just needs to be small and clear. By the way, I forgot to tell you that using this test thread function, I divided a total of 5 energy levels accordingly. Feng Chime said seriously. First, aluminum, which means that the wrath of the wind chime does not emit light, which means it has no threat and can be ignored. Second, glimmer, only a little red light changes from green to red, which means there is a little threat, but not much. Third, light red. The red light is very obvious, but not thick. It means it is more threatening than Jingde. You must pay attention and be vigilant to avoid accidentally being attacked. Fourth, big red, an opponent who is obviously on the same level as you. The opponent has the ability to seriously injure or even kill you. Who is stronger depends on your performance. There may be other hidden treasures that you should be careful of. Fifth, black and red, extremely dangerous. If you encounter such an opponent, run away quickly. Don't hesitate. Whether you can escape is still a question. This means that the opponent's attack can seriously injure you with just one casual attack. Mysterious Journey. Author, Gunkai. Chapter 388. So detailed. Can this thing detect the light of the totem? Garen was surprised. Of course, the light of the totem is the main thing, Feng Chime explained. The principle of this thing is relatively complicated. You only need to know that it can actually detect the opponent and then compare it with its own level. Of course, it is different people input different information about their own strength, so the resulting situations are also different. Garen nodded, indicating that he understood. Exactly, let's go test the specific function of this thing. Don't worry. The wind chime suddenly called Garen. This thing needs an activation phrase to function as a detector. Start up. Of course, you don't know? This kind of privately customized secret treasure tool must have an activation language, otherwise it would be a shame if anyone can just take it and use it. Wind chime raised its index finger and shook it. Then what is the activation language? Garen nodded in understanding. Start it. Wind chime fury. The wind chime suddenly raised its arms, ha, 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 laughed 3 times. Dot. It's cold. As if feeling Garen's increasingly unfriendly eyes, Feng Chime put down his hand. Okay, he's such a humorless man. No wonder he's handsome and doesn't have a girlfriend. The real activation language is reverse printing, magic mirror. As soon as he finished speaking, the shoulder armor on Feng Chime's shoulders suddenly lit up for a burst of red light, and then dimmed quickly. That's it? Garen then looked away. Okay, let's go to the next stronghold and see the effect of this thing. No problem. Thousands of kilometers away from the Red River Basin, somewhere in a valley. The sky was gray and there was no sunshine, just large white clouds covering the entire sky. The valley is full of green ferns, large tracts, high and low, spread throughout the valley like trees. There is a faint white mist lingering among these ferns, shrouding the entire valley, making everything covered with a layer of white mist, as if looking out through water-fogged glass. The mouth of the valley is like a small basin, surrounded by green hills. At the entrance, there is a small green fern forest. 2 groups of black mist quickly floated out of the plant forest, slowly fell to the mouth of the valley outside the forest, and turned into 2 figures in black. The black fog dissipated, and Garen looked into the valley from a distance. Through the white mist, he could see floating stones everywhere in the valley. Large and small, gray-white stones are suspended quietly in mid-air in the valley, as if there is something supporting them below. The largest stone is actually more than 10 meters long and wide, with a small tree and a small lawn growing on it. Did we take the wrong route? We searched 3 places but couldn't find anyone, Feng Ling asked doubtfully, stepping forward from behind Garen. No, there is no problem with the route, but something seems to have happened nearby recently, and those strongholds are all empty, Garen replied calmly. Both of them wore magic mirror shoulder armor on their left shoulders. The light green shoulder armor looks like fragile jade, extremely beautiful. This stronghold is the largest one nearby. How about entering directly? Feng Chime looked at Garen. Garen remained silent, squatting down and wiping dirt on the ground with his hand. Someone came here, just 10 minutes ago, he said calmly. This smell may be those friends who have been tracking us. Then what should we do? Feng Ling frowned, escape or go in? A cold smile appeared on Garen's lips. Since we're here, let's give our friend a meeting gift first. The illusory shadow of the 8-headed dragon slowly emerged behind him. Deep in the valley, 2 groups of people, one black and one blue, faced each other. The people in black clothes are obviously people from the Black Sky Society. They wear dark masks. Different from the previous ones, these people are all filled with black energy, and they look slightly weird. The leader at the front is a man in black robes and a white mask. His mask only has red lines for his eyes and mouth, and it is extremely simple, just a 3-arc smiley face symbol. It gives people a spooky smell. Opposite them were a group of people in ice blue armor. There were 4 people in total, all staring at the opposite side with cold eyes. Standing at the front was a woman with a brown ponytail and no flat chest. She held a long brown whip in her hand. The front half of the whip was burrowed into the soil, and it was still twisting like a living thing. Between the men and horses on both sides, there was a golden scepter inserted upside down. There are layers of small rings on the top of the scepter, and the lower part is inserted diagonally into a white stone. Strangely, the scepter is slightly covered with a thin layer of ice. Haitian society, have you fished over the line? You stretched your hands too long, the ponytailed woman said in a cold tone, suppressing her anger and looking at the people of Haitian society opposite. We discovered the golden scepter first, and we analyzed the liberation language first. Why should it belong to you? It doesn't matter who discovers it first. What's important is that you discovered the secret treasure on our territory. The sharp voice of the white mask was ear-piercing. A trace of frustration flashed in the woman's eyes. What about liberation language? We analyzed liberation language ourselves, why should we leave it to you? They work hard here consuming resources and gems. It took several days to parse the liberation language of the golden scepter, and they were about to try to take it out of the stone. At this moment, people from the Black Sky Society appeared, saying that this secret treasure was left by their predecessors. Just forgot the liberation language. Taking advantage of the opponent's power, they planned to retreat, but the opponent actually did not allow them to leave and asked them to hand over the liberation language. So the scene suddenly came to a standstill. They had heard before that how powerful and arrogant the people from the Black Sky Society were, and they had always thought they were just rumors. They didn't expect to know that the truth was much higher than the rumors until they actually met them. As one of the captains of the local Force Ice Castle, the ponytailed woman was filled with anger. They were stronger than each other, 2 Type 3 Totem Masters and 2 Type 2 Elites. On the opposite side, there is only 1 Type 3 in Black Sky Society, and the rest are Type 2. However, the power represented by their identity made them dare not move at all, and instead they were oppressed by the other party. Even though he was obviously stronger than his opponent, he still had to be restrained by his opponent. This made the 4 people in Ice Castle feel angry. Although it is just a replica of a secret treasure, it is also crucial to the Ice Castle. In such troubled times, every bit of power is valuable, let alone a secret treasure. One last thing, leave the secret message and you can get out, White Mask said coldly. The ponytailed woman gritted her teeth and stared at the other party. She didn't dare to take action. Once she did, the entire Ice Castle might be implicated, and the entire Ice Castle might be destroyed. Suddenly, the White Mask opposite looked towards the other mountain wall. The same goes for you, get out of here and don't let me see you again, otherwise don't blame me for being unkind. The mountain wall suddenly twisted, revealing 3 men in different clothes. They were dressed in hunter attire and looked extremely capable. The expression of the strong man in front changed slightly. Master Begui, we are also following the orders of the clan leader. Don't use the Black Tiger King to suppress me, White Mask said in a cold tone. Lord White Ghost. Ah! Suddenly, a man next to him screamed. His whole body shriveled up quickly, and his muscles and skin dried up at a speed visible to the naked eye. It was like a deflated balloon, and soon only a piece of skin was left, which collapsed and fell to the ground. The other 2 people were startled and stepped away, looking around in fear. The White Ghost laughed sharply. This is the consequences of disobedience. I spared your life just for the sake of the Black Tiger King. Do you really think I am a person? The 2 of them felt chills in their hearts. Although they were only Type -1 Totem Masters, it was really terrifying to be killed silently. The people from the Black Tiger King and the people from the Ice Castle did not dare to say anything more. They fell silent after parting, falling into conflict and hesitation. This White Ghost and White Mask is far from being as easy to deal with as imagined. At this moment, 2 groups of black mist suddenly appeared behind the White Mask, and quickly condensed into 2 tall figures. Sir White Mask turned around and saluted the two men respectfully. The two people were a man and a woman, a black-haired man and a green-haired woman. They were not very old, only in their 30s. The whole body is covered in a robe as black as ink, except for the golden and green armor exposed by the music below. The dark-haired man nodded. "How is it going?" "It's basically been arranged by Go," he replied respectfully. "But I accidentally discovered a new secret treasure, the golden scepter." "Yes, tell these people to get out of here. We must take action immediately, otherwise we won't have enough time," the green-haired woman whispered. The man nodded and looked directly at the two groups of Ice Castle and Black Tiger King. These two groups are totem masters entrenched nearby. Those who can survive completely in this environment are naturally not weak in strength, and they are all ruthless characters. A hint of impatience flashed in the man's eyes, and he was about to speak. Suddenly he felt that the sky seemed a little cloudy. "What's going on? Is it going to rain?" The man raised his head in confusion, and his pupils suddenly shrank. Everyone present raised their heads slightly and looked at the sky, with their mouths wide open and stunned. "I saw a black cloud spreading rapidly over the sky in the valley. A black cloud composed of countless crows." The black-haired man suddenly thought of something, and his face turned pale. "It's the fog crow. 8 fog crows. Withdraw! Withdraw!" he suddenly shouted. The people in Ice Castle were also stunned. The black clouds of fog crows completely enveloped the entire sky. These crows, surrounded by fog, kept making dense and strange calls, which were harsh and unpleasant. At a glance, there was no white gap in the sky above the entire head. The 8-headed fog crows are from the Royal Alliance. "The people from the Royal Alliance are here," a trace of shock flashed in the ponytail woman's eyes. When she saw the panicked look of the people in Haitian society opposite, she suddenly felt an inexplicable joy in her heart. If they can't get it, they naturally think that others can't get it either. Compared to the Black Sky Society, the people from the Royal Alliance are more powerful and domineering. They do not allow anyone to disobey them. Opposition is resistance, and resistance is rebellion. Rebellion means rebellion. The family is going to be exterminated. The people of the Black Tiger King did not dare to move at all. In such a large formation, the Royal Family Alliance, which is known for its domineering power, was still strong. If one of them accidentally angered the other party, even the Black Tiger King would be implicated. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Mysterious Journey. Author, Gunkai. Chapter 389. Quack. The calls of countless fog crows came from the sky above the valley. The whole valley was dark, with only a tiny bit of light coming out between the crows' wings. 3 groups of people in the valley formed formations and were on guard. The people of Black Sky Society are the most nervous. The 8-headed mist crow has always been targeting the people of Black Sky Society. At the beginning, the 8-headed mist crow was angry because he was surrounded and killed by the people of Black Sky Society, and then went out to take revenge. Laugh. A fog crow swooped down, drew a straight black line, and stabbed a Black Sky Club member below. The yellow totem light flashed on the left chest of the club member, but in front of Mist Crow, it was like paper, and it broke with just one prick. Amidst the strange cries of fog crows that filled the sky, no one heard his wailing and screaming voice. All the people in the Black Sky Society were surrounded by a group of fog crows attacking them. In just a blink of an eye, several people in the Black Sky Club died, leaving only the White Ghost and the 2 new men and women standing in the way. They tried their best to resist the fog crows that pounced down from time to time. After these fog crows pounce down, regardless of success or failure, they instantly disintegrate into black mist after one attack, fly into the sky, and turn into fog crows again. But the strange thing is that most of the black fog crows in the sky are not flying towards them, but directly over the heads of everyone and flying towards the inside of the valley. Among the black crows, two groups of black mist enveloped two figures, flying straight deeper into the valley. One of the figures lowered his head and glanced at the three groups of people below. It was just a faint glance, but everyone quickly lowered their heads and did not dare to look again. 3 dots of vermilion lit up in the center of the man's eyebrows, and his eyes were filled with a faint blood color. Surrounded by countless fog crows, it looks like a demon. Soon, in less than a few minutes, the fog crows that filled the sky finally slowly retreated, and all the dark clouds flowed through this area, covering the innermost valley. Only then did the three groups of people notice that at some point, the golden scepter in the middle had been broken to the ground by the impact of the free fog crow, and strands of silver liquid flowed out from the broken part of the scepter, like blood. The secret treasure was accidentally damaged by the fog crows. The people in Ice Castle and Black Tiger King felt inexplicably happy. Look towards Black Sky Society. The green-haired woman is in charge of the remaining 3 members of the Black Sky Society. She looked towards the depths of the valley in the distance, her face turning green and white. Take the body and let's go, she finally made her decision. From time to time, you can find a secret treasure hidden deep in the ground, but if you lose your life, there will be nothing. 8 fog crows, she forgot to glance at the black clouds in the distance with hatred and fear. Sooner or later, someone from the headquarters will take care of you. You won't be able to dance for long. The 3 people quickly released a 4-armed giant mantis, took all the corpses with them, and quickly retreated out of the valley. The ponytailed woman in the ice castle looked up in the direction of the black clouds. Let's go too. It's good luck to meet the 8-headed mist crow this time. If we don't have such good luck next time. The 8-headed mist crow kills people in the wild and is moody. We must go back immediately to report to the lord of the castle. Inform all the tribesmen. Be careful when traveling. Sister, who is more powerful, the lord of the castle or the 8-headed mist crow? A young boy with a beard that had just grown on his lips asked curiously. They are all powerful. But the castle master is the leader who stands on our side and protects us from monsters. The 8-headed fog crow is cruel and murderous. He is strong but definitely not a good person, the pony-tailed woman explained softly. Let's go, everyone, bring the fragments of the scepter. Although most of these materials are useless, they are still of some value. The people in the ice castle all started to collect the scepter fragments on the ground with mixed emotions. Although no one made a sound, the long-term training had an effect. But everyone's eyes were intentionally or unintentionally looking towards the dark clouds deep in the valley. The power of that moment was deeply engraved in everyone's hearts. The old people are in awe and emotion, while the young people are filled with great enthusiasm. Maybe one day, they can also have such power. Such a powerful force. Make your enemies panic and retreat just by hearing your name. The people on the Black Tiger King's side had left long ago without knowing when. But obviously, like the people of Ice Castle, they had the most clear and direct impression of the legendary 8 fog crows when the black crows were flying in the sky. The man with 3 dots of vermilion shining between his brows in the dark clouds was engraved in their minds like a scar. The bottom of the valley. In the middle of the large dark green ferns, there is a bare black rocky land, with no grass growing on it, and it is completely barren. Directly above the black ground, there is the largest floating stone in the valley suspended. This boulder is tens of meters long and wide, with a small patch of yellow-green forest growing on it, and small groups of birds flying around the boulder, making cheerful calls. Under the bright sunshine, white and red birds chase each other, carefree, lively, and cute. In the woods on floating boulders. In front of an old tree with wrinkled bark, 2 groups of people were standing quietly. Suddenly, there were 2 red-masked men in black robes. They both wore the badge of the Eye of the Black Sun on their chests. That is the distribution mark of Mahakala. The other group was led by a young, fair-skinned, quiet man. There were 4 people in total, 3 men and 1 woman. The leading man was wearing a white robe and had a calm face, but his face was slightly pale. The most striking thing is that his eyes actually show a faint silver color. But at this time, both the red-masked and silver-eyed young man were unusually quiet, seeming to be deep in thought. Time passed by minute, and there was no movement between the 2 groups of people. But vaguely, there seemed to be some movement in the sky outside the woods. It seemed like a large flock of crows were rapidly approaching. The leader of the red mask suddenly spoke. "There is another newcomer here. It seems that this time we will still have no success." Her voice was a very gentle female voice, which just sounded comfortable and soft. "Please." The silver-eyed man nodded and said no more. Instead, he continued to stare at the withered old tree trunk in front of him. The old tree is very thick, enough for 2 people to hug each other, but the strange thing is that in the middle of the black trunk, there are clear human facial features, 2 eyes, a nose, a mouth, a chin, and a long beard dragging out, and the beard is clearly the black roots of trees. This old tree with a human face has its eyes closed at this time and seems to be sleeping. The red-masked man smiled slightly. He glanced at the sky outside. "Let's go. The person who came here has a deep misunderstanding of our black sky society." The other person bowed slightly, turned around with the red-masked man, and quickly disappeared into the shadow of the woods. 2 black fogs rose up, and the fog enveloped the 2 figures. When the fog dissipated, the 2 people had completely disappeared. "How's it going? Xian, is there any way?" the remaining woman in the group asked in a low voice. She was wearing a fiery red close-fitting leather armor, completely showing off her hot and perfect figure. She stood beside the silver-eyed man, but there is a feeling of a little bird clinging to people. "It would be nice if Doreen was still here." Baker Stone Eyes sighed slowly. "He is the best at guessing riddles. If he were the one, he would definitely be able to solve this riddle very quickly." The red-armored girl was silent. The atmosphere suddenly became a little dull. "I'm sorry, I shouldn't have mentioned this again," Baker Stone Eyes whispered apologetically. "No, it's all my fault. If I hadn't been caught by that guy, I guess Doreen wouldn't have died." The red-armored girl was the original Bolina. After being caught by Garen, as a threat, forcing Baker Stone Eyes to have a fair fight with him. At this moment, the crows outside the woods became louder and closer. Soon, 2 figures in black armor walked into the woods again. They were 2 men. The man in front had blonde shawl hair and a handsome appearance. There were 3 vermilion marks between his eyebrows. His face was indifferent, and there was still a black mist that had not been completely recovered around him. As soon as the other party entered the woods, Baker Stone Eyes turned around and met the visitor's eyes. For a moment, Baker's Stone Eyes almost burst out of fire. "It's you." A calm smile appeared on Garen's face. "Beck Stone Eyes, I smelled you and the boys from the Black Sky Society together from far away. As soon as I found your figure, I rushed over." His eyes were calm, and he seemed to be calm and confident, and everything was under control. A feeling of, "We had a wonderful day at the manor, and it's been so long." In the blink of an eye. It's really worth remembering. Garen Terry Jones. Berlina, the red-armored woman next to Baker's Stone Eyes, stared at Garen with gritted teeth. "Nice to see you again, beautiful lady." The smile on Garen's face deepened. Whoosh! A sharp red light shot toward Garen. Snapped. The red light was silently blocked by a cloud of black mist, and the 2 phases collapsed and disappeared completely. To be precise, the red light weakened rapidly when it was emitted, which was very strange. There is still a red thread left in the air. Wherever the red light passed, the ground was scorched black, as if a line of fire flew across it instantly. But soon, the scorched black on the ground quickly returned to its original green color. Berlina put away her right hand bitterly. "I will kill you sooner or later. Revenge for Tarion." We're always here. Garen smiled gently. If you can get out of here alive. You want to take action, Baker Stone Eyes said coldly. This is the ancient tree domain. Everyone will be maliciously suppressed. Anyone with destructive intentions will have all their strength suppressed, and they will not even be able to move. Arrive. Garen was slightly stunned, and suddenly felt that something was wrong. Just when the murderous intention arose in his heart, a strong, incomparable force field suppressed his whole body. Then very quickly, the murderous intention in his heart was quickly covered by an inexplicable vitality and a deep sense of peace and tranquility. Garen actually felt inexplicably that he could no longer bring up a trace of murderous intention in his heart. He felt that he could not bear to destroy the existing peace and tranquility around him. This feeling is weird, like being half asleep and still wanting to continue. As soon as all the violent thoughts arose, they were completely neutralized by a wave of peace, and then faded away, losing their energy. He felt the strangeness carefully. Baker Sheehan and others were obviously affected and stopped talking. The situation was at a stalemate. Mysterious Journey. Author, Gunkai. Chapter 390. Time passed by minute, and both parties stood silently without making any movement. Wind Chime stood behind Garen and kept yawning. Obviously, this kind of peace was very suitable for dozing off. Soon, noon arrived. The scorching golden light was projected from above the woods, completely illuminating the entire grove in a golden color. At this moment, the old tree opened his eyes again. It opened its mouth, and an old and majestic voice came from his mouth. It has 8 legs, can hold water, is slow and can run steadily. It's a repetition, it's the same riddle as last time, Baker's Stone Eyes murmured in a low voice. Garen also heard a voice in the distance. The voice seemed to be transmitted directly into his mind. He didn't know what language it was in, but he could understand its meaning. There was a thoughtful look on his face. It's the mystery of the tree spirit, one of the only 2 strange phenomena that can be understood. The wind chime spoke from behind him. There was a clear look of admiration on his face. I didn't expect that I would be able to experience the mystery of the tree spirit in person. As long as you guess the answer, you can get a drop of life dew presented by the tree spirit. What's the use? Garen looked at the wind chime. The sound was transmitted through the magic mirror. It's very useful. The biggest use is to extend life. A drop of dew of life can extend life for 40 years. This is a mysterious phenomenon that has just appeared. Of course, this data has been carefully calculated by our Mahakala, but I didn't expect this group of people to do it. I know Fengling looked at Baker Stone Eyes and his group with some surprise, obviously not expecting that anyone other than Haitian society would know about this place. Even I have only heard about it, but I don't know exactly where you can encounter the mystery of the tree spirit. This is one of the secrets in the Black Sky Society. At this moment, as if he remembered something, Baker's stone eyes suddenly lit up, and a word blurted out. The answer is the spider teapot. The old tree froze immediately, and his facial features quickly blended into the bark and disappeared. Soon, the old tree withered, and a large number of branches and leaves drooped and dried up. The leaves quickly turned black, curled, and then dehydrated piece by piece. Soon, only one black branch hung down, hanging in front of Baker's stone eyes. There is a black flower bud on the branch. The flower bud opens slowly, layer upon layer, and countless petals unfold, revealing the innermost stamens. Like black peonies, complex, gorgeous and delicate. A drop of crystal clear sticky dew rolled out from the black stamen. The dewdrops were quickly caught in a small white bottle by Baker's stone eyes, who was well prepared, and the bottle was immediately corked. That's the dew of life. We actually got a drop of dew of life. It's so exciting, Wind Chime suddenly shouted in surprise. Boss, hurry up. Kill them quickly, they dare to steal our life dew. They are tired of living. We haven't gotten it yet, why are you so excited? Garen glanced at the wind chime speechlessly. Go and try the other side. He had already felt that the suppression around him had disappeared, and it was obvious that it had completely collapsed with the disappearance of the old tree. I'm a clerical worker. A clerical worker, he Feng Ling quickly stepped back with a sneer on his face. Baker's stone eyes put away the dew of life and turned around quietly. Next, it's time to calculate the previous ledger. I think so too, Garen smiled lightly. There was a faint black mist and golden light spots between the two people. The two strong forces entangled and offset each other, and the black mist and golden light spots continued to melt and reappear. Two completely different forces pervaded the entire forest. One black and one gold divide the forest into two opposite areas. Your sunflower has indeed grown again. Garen stroked the black pocket watch in his hand and looked at Baker's stone eyes opposite with interest. Baker's stone eyes snorted coldly, waved his right hand, and countless golden light spots suddenly formed golden vortex beasts around him. Different from the original Uzumaki beasts, the current Uzumaki beasts were all completely golden, as if they were made of gold. After condensing into a solid body, the large group of Uzumaki beasts roared ferociously towards Garen. Woo! The golden light continued to condense into golden whirlpool beasts, surrounding Garen, completely surrounding the two of them. Garen flicked his pocket watch. Ding! With a soft sound, large waves of black mist suddenly poured out of the pocket watch, and countless black mist gathered into a fog crow, hovering in the air around him. Ga! Mist Crow confronted the Uzumaki beast amidst strange screams. What a trick! Baker Stone Eyes was slightly surprised, but he didn't show any surprise. That's right. If you were suppressed by me so easily, wouldn't my hardship and pain for so long have been in vain? At some point, he took out a green seed in his right hand, a seed the size of a sharp fingernail. With a scoff, he actually stabbed the seed directly into his left forearm. The tip of the seed penetrates thoroughly into the flesh. With a creepy sound of growth, the seeds actually began to take root and sprout, growing directly on Baker's left forearm. Green buds poked out of the skin, growing rapidly, growing taller and thicker, getting harder and taller. Soon, it grew to the same height as Baker's stone eyes and face. The green plant quickly produced a black bud, which slowly unfolded, revealing a flesh and blood eye inside. The moment he opened his eyes and looked at Garen, suddenly felt his eyes go dark, his eyes were filled with darkness, and he couldn't see anything. At the same time, a large number of golden vortex beasts around them suddenly flew up and launched attacks. The vortex force field of each vortex beast is stronger than before. It has reached the level of spiritual light, and it is inextricably entangled with the fog crow, and each has its own victory or defeat. Visual deprivation. Baker Stone stared at Garen coldly. A huge golden tree slowly appeared behind him. In the middle of the tree, a golden vertical pupil opened. An invisible and powerful twisting force suddenly landed in the area where Garen was. Bang! A large amount of black mist was exploded and splashed everywhere, and even the whirlpool beast had to stay away temporarily and did not dare to get close. A large amount of grass clippings and soil were blown up, and a large deep hole was directly blasted into the forest. The entire floating stone shook violently, and the lower side was broken open, shooting out a twisted invisible light, which hit the ground hard. Garen landed gently on the edge of the pit, still with a faint smile on his face. How is that possible? Baker's stone eyes felt cold. He took out a seed again and planted it directly on his left shoulder. Amidst the creepy sound of sucking flesh and blood, the new seeds grew and grew, forming a new bud, with a human ear blooming inside. Hearing deprivation. Baker Sheehan's face became increasingly pale. Stone Eyes Berlina was unable to intervene at all and could only look at Baker's stone eyes worriedly. She knew the side effects of this secret spell. Although the effect is very powerful, the damage to oneself is also very powerful. I will definitely kill him. Baker's stone eyes were firm. Laugh. Another invisible twisted beam of light shot out. But Bjalin leisurely stepped to the left, and the beam of light narrowly missed him. Tisk tisk tisk. Baker's stone eyes didn't believe it at all, and kept urging Sunflower to shoot wildly. After experiencing the battle in the manor, he was the only one who understood the terror of the opponent best, and only this kind of concentrated bombardment with high concentration could hurt the opponent. But Garen moved to the left from time to time, jumped a step from time to time, and occasionally stopped moving forward. Every movement he made perfectly avoided the beam of light that shot past him. Impossible. Impossible. Baker's stone eyes activated the twisted beams of light more intensively, and the huge golden tree behind him shot at almost 2 high speeds per second. But to no avail. Baker's stone eyes took out the third seed again. Sheehan, stop. You are crazy. Bolina wanted to grab Baker Sheehan's arm. Get away. She was pushed to the ground. Baker's stone eyes has gone completely crazy. He experienced unprecedented humiliation in the manor. Talion died alive in front of him, and the cruel and bloody scenes he saw in the laboratory. All of this kept replaying in his mind. The third seed pierced hard into the chest. The silver light in Baker's stone eyes suddenly brightened. A new black plant grew again and produced a new black bud. The bud opened and inside was a human nose. Smell. Deprivation. Garen paused slightly. Baker's stone eyes was immediately overjoyed, and frantically activated the sun tree to bombard it. Invisible beams of light shot out like raindrops. There were violent explosions everywhere above the floating boulders. The rumbling crackle was like thunder in the sky. Whether it was Berlina or Fengchime, they could only stay away from each other at this time and did not dare to get close to the battlefield. Everyone is staring at the battle situation and paying attention to all changes. But anyone with a discerning eye can see that the difference in strength is too obvious. Baker's stone eye is still at the level of spiritual light, but Garen has clearly transcended to a new level. Baker's stone-eyed lips began to crack, and the originally smooth and round skin began to dry up. Impossible. How is it possible? What went wrong? The unwillingness on his face became more and more intense. Penetrating round holes kept appearing on the ground, but Garen still moved closer to him unhurriedly. He didn't even need to use the defensive totem light, he just walked over with such ease. Beams of light passed by his side and feet, but they were not hurt at all. Looking at the man's figure getting closer and closer, Baker's stone eyes kept feeling a chill in his heart. I won't lose again. No, he murmured and took out the fourth seed. Bang. In an instant, all the open buds exploded, and Baker's stone eyes groaned and took a few steps back. Garen opened his eyes again, and his blocked vision, hearing, and smell were all restored again. The dew of life, that's a rare good thing. If you don't have enough strength, you can't protect it. A faint smile appeared on his face again. You, Baker's stone eyes looked defeated, and he took out a golden rhombus crystal in his hand again. Is that what you're relying on this time? Garen looked at the crystal in his hand. How weak. He shook his head. I killed 32 Black Sky Society students and above and 3 generals in Vendoria. I killed 5 generals in a row in Longdopo in the northwest. I had a head-on battle with the giant statue in Ennet. I blocked the attack in the abandoned city. The carriage of the underworld. After hundreds of battles, it has never been defeated. I thought that after such a long time, you should have some insights. I didn't expect that there was only such a small improvement. Garen's face was indifferent, and the 3-point mark between his eyebrows became scarleter. If you only have this much strength, then there is no need to go back today. I won't lose. Baker's stone eyes held the golden crystal tightly and stood up straight. The silver light in his eyes became stronger and stronger, becoming more and more dazzling. Mysterious Journey. Author, Gunkai. Chapter 391. Of all the people present, only Baker Stone Eyes understood best the weight of what Garen said about these battles. Especially the underworld carriage. If it was really that thing he was referring to, then he simply couldn't imagine what level the other party's strength had reached. At this moment, a familiar voice suddenly came from behind Baker Stone Eyes. Galen. The person who spoke was one of the two people who had been standing behind Baker's Stone Eyes and said nothing. Garen was startled for a moment, feeling that the voice sounded familiar, and looked at the place where the voice came from. The other party stood out from the shadows, wearing a grey robe and a black wooden ring on his hand. With one hand, he gently tore off a thin layer of human skin mask from his face, revealing an old and deep face. It turned out to be the teacher Aining that Garen came to look for on this trip. Garen. Is it really you? Aining couldn't believe it and looked closely at the strange and powerful man opposite. The image of the other party gradually overlapped with the pious image when he taught knowledge. Teacher Garen's voice was a little surprised, but then there was a hint of relief and bitterness. This answer immediately made the two people, Baker and Stone Eyes, and the little boy behind Aining widen their eyes. This was an obvious recognition of Garen's identity. He was indeed Aining's disciple and the only student he had ever had. Aining was the one who pointed out the location of the mystery of the Dryad to Baker's Stone Eyes. He was also the Silver Lantern Master who accidentally joined their team on the road. Although his strength was not very good, his knowledge was extremely profound. He is the heir to one of the branches of the famous Dar Sula school. Unexpectedly, he turned out to be the teacher of the eight-headed mist crow Garen. Enin looked at Garen with great confusion. I was sure that you would become a powerful totem master, but I didn't expect that you would become a powerful totem master so soon. He paused, a trace of sadness flashed in his eyes. You have finally joined the Royal Alliance. Galen was silent. It is impossible for him to choose another direction, and Vindman's force field also determines that he can only stand on the side of the Royal Alliance. But the royal family will eventually decline. From the beginning, he could only be a member of the Royal Alliance. Dai Huashi was badly offended by Vindman. The Black Sky Society also conspired to assassinate Vindman, and later their relationship with him was completely incompatible. The Royal Alliance is different. Vindman paid so much for the royal family, and finally handed over his lifetime research results to his monarch. This is the most solid premise. Perhaps due to the increase in intelligence attributes, Garen was thinking more and more during this time. Could he really just follow the Royal Alliance to its demise? This thought flashed through my mind again when I saw Teacher Aining. After coming back to his senses, he looked at the little boy behind Aining. There was a small red butterfly on the boy's shoulder. This kind of butterfly is still a small poison-type totem that he and his teacher Hung He discussed together. I didn't expect it to actually come out. Noticing Garen's eyes, Enin pushed the little guy out. This is your junior brother, my new recruit Bitening. He is also very talented. Bitening, call me senior brother. Bitening is a little boy with short red hair and many freckles on his nose. Master, 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 brother, his mouth was trembling, not because of fear, but because he was so excited. Can I be as powerful as you? Yes, as long as you work hard. Garen showed a gentle smile. Bitening's eyes suddenly lit up, and he seemed to feel that his senior brother was easy to talk to. He hesitated for a moment, a little hesitant. Brother Xian is a good person, please don't embarrass him, okay? Baker Xian couldn't help but feel out of breath, and wanted to speak again, but a mouthful of blood spurted out. Bolina, who was caught up, quickly supported her. Brother Xian came to find the mystery of the tree spirit, but it was actually because of the teacher's body. Senior brother, please don't embarrass him. The teacher is 94 years old and has no dew of life. Bitening couldn't continue. The eye circles also turned red. One of the master and the apprentice joined the Earth Flower Club, and the other joined the Royal Alliance. Although there was no conflict in their positions for the time being, Garen knew that sooner or later, there would be a huge collision between the two forces. And they will inevitably stand on the opposite side. As for Beitning's words, Galen knew very well what Enning actually meant. He didn't expect that the dew of life was actually begging for Enning. Baker Stone I actually made a special trip to find the dew of life to extend life for Enning. Thinking that it had taken so long for him to think of checking on his teacher, Garen felt a little guilty. His eyes were fixed on Baker Stone Eyes. After he killed Stone Eye's friend Talion, the hatred could not be resolved again. And the other party, as the carefully cultivated seed of the Earth Flower Club, would never let it go silent like this. But now he is seeking the dew of life for teacher Enning. And the teacher also means. Garen's expression fell silent. Berlina and the others stared nervously at Garen's face. Whether it was war or peace was in his mind. An invisible pressure slowly enveloped everyone, and the air seemed to be frozen. Berlina felt that it was a little difficult to breathe. She tried to breathe in, but she did not dare to make any sound. She really didn't want to experience this feeling of life and death being controlled by someone else's thoughts. She couldn't help but look at Baker's Stone Eyes at this time. This normally calm and wise man fell into an abnormally excited state after meeting the man opposite. Obviously the other party had left too great a shadow on him. Sweat seeped out bit by bit on the tip of Baker's Stone Eye nose, but he didn't even move to wipe it away. He just stared at Garen. Since being completely defeated last time, he has fallen into an unprecedented setback. The smell, as if even the sun had turned grey, was still fresh in his memory. He was in a daze all day long, not wanting to do anything but just stay in the room in a daze, like a living dead. After eating and sleeping, he was in a daze, as if he had completely forgotten everything. All the efforts he had made were worthless after being defeated. It was not until later that the teacher sent someone to deliver the diary with a white shell. It was sent by Liana's parents, specially for him. It is full of every day that Rihanna has spent. Then, he heard the news that his teacher was seriously ill. When he arrived, he could not see the teacher for the last time. It was raining heavily that day, and he knelt in the rain all night. He didn't know if he shed tears. The rain was astringent, and so were the tears. From that day on, he vowed to fulfill his teacher's lifelong wish. Although the anger in his heart kept attacking his reason, Shi Yan finally suppressed this impulse. This urge to rush forward and fight Galen. A breeze blew by, making the leaves rustle. Tiny shards of sunlight trembled on everyone's bodies. "Teacher, when did you join the Earth Flower Club?" Garen suddenly asked. Aining hesitated for a moment and finally answered. "I have been a member of the Earth Flower Society from the very beginning. Our entire Dejura school is actually one of the schools that founded the Earth Flower Society." Garen closed his eyes, as if lost in thought. But Bolina and Baker Sheehan opened their eyes wide, as if they just realized that Aining was actually a member of the Daihua Club. "For the teacher's sake, let's go," Garen finally whispered. As compensation for not coming to see the teacher immediately when the turmoil occurred, "Sheehan, please don't let me meet you next time." Baker's stone eyes popped and spit out a mouthful of black blood again. Bolin helped him stand up. His lips trembled, obviously badly hurt, and he took a deep breath. "If you let me go this time, I will let you go sooner or later." He is an extremely proud man, but he was frustrated twice in front of Garen. This made his desire to become stronger grow stronger. "Let's go," Baker Stone Eye encouraged, pushing away Bolina's support, turning around and leaving. The two of them, Aining, glanced at Garen one last time and finally left. The four of them got further and further away and reached the edge of the floating stone. After a flash of green light, a huge green jade-like eagle was released. The eagle has a wingspan of more than 20 meters, and its back is nearly 6 meters wide, making it extremely spacious. The four of them boarded the eagle one after another. Garen just watched them from a distance until they took off into the sky. On another mountaintop in the valley, there is a small forest of red ferns. At this time, there were several figures in green standing. Each of these people was wearing tight-fitting white full-body leather armor. Their heads were tightly wrapped, leaving only a pair of eyes exposed. The white-armored people looked well-trained and stood quietly in the woods. The two white-armored people stood at the front, observing the changes in Galen and Baker's stone eyes below from a distance. Interesting. I didn't expect that the eight-headed fog crow was actually Aining's disciple, a green-armored leader whispered, the voice of a man. Being frustrated at the hands of the same kid twice in a row, Shi Yan must be so frustrated that he wants to die. It's so pitiful. The other person had a female voice, but her voice was a bit frivolous. You felt so pitiful, why didn't you help that Tureen at that time? As long as Baker doesn't die, the rest will take a lot of energy, the woman retorted. Then stop talking nonsense, the male leader said impatiently. Watching these little guys fighting, isn't it sometimes very emotional? Wouldn't it be nice to express your emotions, the woman said. By the way, look at that boy named Garen. Isn't he very stylish? He looks good and has a good figure. He is much better than you. I just don't know how it tastes. Stronger than me? I can crush him to death with one finger. The man became a little angry. One finger? How can you crush him with one finger? Then I can do it with two fingers, the man said in anger. He stared hard at Galen below, planning when to teach this boy who had embarrassed him a lesson, to let him know how high the sky is and how thick the bottom is. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Mysterious Journey. Author, Gunkai. Chapter 392. Suddenly, at some point, Garen's eyes below him looked towards the side from a distance. Those eyes glowed with a strange red light, and the triangular vermilion birthmark between his eyebrows seemed to be bleeding. From a distance, the white-armored leader seemed to feel a faint chill rising from the bottom of his heart. Damn it, he cursed angrily. Didn't this kid discover us? There shouldn't be any flaws in the invisibility effect of the Yingyang tree, the female leader said with some confusion. It shouldn't be possible. Although he is type 4, his accumulation is too short, so he can't cover everything. It's impossible for him to find out about us. He can't be so perverted. Before the male leader could finish his words, he saw the addition in his field of vision. Long raised his hand and pointed in his direction. Immediately, large amounts of black mist poured out from his body, transforming into a huge black crow. Quack! The black crow flapped its wings, and its huge wings of more than 40 meters rolled up a huge amount of airflow. With the black air lingering all over its body, the black crow suddenly rushed towards the side. The male leader finally changed his expression, and the other party really discovered them. Through the black air, he could faintly see Garen's lips moving. Looking forward to our official meeting. Is this guy so perverted? Before the male leader finished speaking, he saw a huge black crow rushing over, drawing a clear black shadow in mid-air. Boom! The red fern forest on the entire mountaintop exploded into a cloud of black gas. The entire 100-meter-long mountaintop actually tilted, and was slowly sliding down to the left after being blown up. Bang! Huge rocks hit the ground below, throwing up a lot of dust and gravel. Garen watched the black crow hit the opponent from a distance. This was not a provocation, it was just a small fee for watching the opponent for so long. Let's go. He turned and walked towards the exit of the valley. What are you doing over there? Feng Ling was a little puzzled. Being bored. I'll wipe it. Feng Chime glanced at the top of the mountain again and followed Garen away with a puzzled look on his face. Cough cough. Cough. In the huge pit on the broken mountain top, a burning green illusory flame surrounded all the people in white armor, right in the middle of the huge pit. The male leader's face was dusty and he was coughing hard. I can't even block the seal of light tree, and if you ask me to activate the light of the totem, I'll give it a hum. You deserve it. The female leader looked calm on the side, as if nothing was wrong. You underestimated the handsome boy, so you must be at a disadvantage now. The other people in white armor were silent one by one, and those who were affected quickly got up from the ground. Their eyes did not change at all, as if they had long been accustomed to it. What are those old guys in the club thinking? Such a perverted guy is only in his 20s. He was actually pushed to the royal family, the male leader cursed. Are you sure he discovered us? Maybe he didn't see it completely, he just felt our breath. The female leader also became serious and stopped joking. The joke is a bit too big now. To be honest, the warning just now was probably just a warning from that guy. If we really face him, what do you think our chances of winning are? The male leader put away the green flames and regained his composure. He must have hidden methods. The eight-headed mist crow, the mist crow is just his general method, and there are also the long famous eight-headed ones that have not been shown. Rumor has it that his 8 heads govern all close combat, while the mist crow is used for long-range attacks. But as a high-end powerhouse, it is impossible not to have 1 or 2 trump cards. I am sure from the look in that guy's eyes. He must have one of the biggest secrets that has not been exposed. That kind of confidence is absolutely comparable to those in the club. The old guy competed. It was rare that he did not call Garen boy, but formally used the word him. The female leader knew that this was because the other party's strength had gained his respect. Being able to discover them hidden and protected by the seal of light tree qualifies them to enter the ranks of masters among the 4 types. As veteran strong men who have been famous for many years, the two have been partners for many years, and their tacit understanding has reached the point where they are like each other. Then what's next? As long as Aining is here, don't mess with him. That guy has messed with the Black Sky Club. Those perverts from the Black Sky Society won't let him go. Let them beat you to death. We just need to develop secretly, the male leader said in a deep voice. The female leader of Daila sighed faintly when she heard this word. The Krishna school, which was once the strongest in academia, never expected to establish a so-called Krishna society. What on earth were they thinking? Who knows? Schools, nobles, royal families, and those old immortals all have their own plans. They are playing chess, and we are just stronger chess pieces, the male leader said helplessly. Don't say that, your father will be angry if he hears it. Being called an old immortal by his own son. Never mind it. We are the only ones who can get it in the club. Those old guys have many trump cards, but they are all cowardly. We still have to rely on us to turn around. If you get angry, I will go home and quit. The female leader covered her mouth and laughed. Outside the valley, 2 masses of black mist shot out quickly, passing over a large area of emerald green grassland. The scorching golden sunlight faintly penetrated the black fog, and 2 figures could be seen wrapped in it. White clouds quickly passed by, and the fierce wind faintly blew out the oval shape of the totem light of the 2 people. Feng Chime rested his head on his hands, sitting in the dark mist as if sitting on a sofa, looking boredly at Garen in front of him on the left. Boss, you said that old man is your teacher. Are you true? How could your teacher be so weak? You are not the legendary self-taught freak, are you? This guy has developed a very thick skin now, and even a young man much younger than him can call out the word boss without changing his expression. Garen ignored him. After getting along with this guy for a long time, he found that he was no longer dangerous and became thicker and thicker. I just like to talk about it when I have nothing to do. It's so shameless. Your junior brother actually used the offensive of pretending to be pitiful to deal with you. He was a little indignant. Pity me for the dew of life. It is a good thing that can extend life. If I can get my hands on it, I can study it. Just take it. When he saw Garen's lack of response, he suddenly felt even more bored. Where are we going next? Sweep all the way to the mission point, Garen replied calmly. Mission point? It's not the mission that the Director General mentioned, is it? Fengling opened his eyes wide. Seeing that Garen didn't answer him, he obviously acquiesced. He suddenly started wailing. Oh my God! Why are we running to dangerous places? I feel like I have encountered more fights in the past few days than I have in the past 10 years combined. Isn't this just looking for trouble? Listening to the constant voices coming from the magic mirror, Garen was too lazy to pay attention to the sky. He was thinking about his own arrangements. This unexpected encounter with the teacher made him raise a question that he had never had time to think about before. His position is doomed, it can only be a royal alliance, but the royal family will eventually collapse. When the time comes, neither Black Sky Society nor Daihua Society can tolerate him. How will he deal with himself? It now seems that the Royal Alliance is still the most powerful force, but it is riddled with holes and is surrounded by spies. It won't be long before the powerful banners of the royal family will collapse and break one by one. A seemingly powerful force will collapse like a house made of building blocks. It was not the Black Sky Society or the Daihua Society that overturned this force, but the royal family itself. The assassination in the royal capital of Kuwaitan was just a twist. There are other major influences as well. The royal family ultimately provoked a violent backlash from ordinary people. Rustling, there was a faint sound coming from the black box on the collar. This is the General Administration of Kuwaitan, now announcing a major news. This is the General Administration of Kuwaitan, now announcing a major news. A clear young female voice came from the black box. As of yesterday, Shania announced the establishment of the largest civilian fortress, the Heart of Life, to accommodate fleeing civilians from all over the country. If you intend to go, please contact the local branch. Specialized medical staff will be responsible for guiding the people. The voice repeated itself again. Then start repeating it in other different languages. Garen listened to the voice, but there was an inexplicable look in his eyes. Heart of Life. This is also the biggest turning point. He remembered that in the original history, it was after the king of Shanya issued the order to massacre the Heart of Life that he triggered a domestic uprising. The reason was that after the assassination in Kuwaitan, the same assassination occurred in Xania, and Xania's favorite princess was assassinated. So a great sweep gradually turned into a massacre. The Black Sky Society took advantage of the situation and took action, and eventually Shania was destroyed in March. Ennet is different. Its king is succeeded by the most powerful totem master. The king of Enite was purely seeking more powerful power, and merged himself with the strongest giant statue in an attempt to become a god. In order to accumulate enough powerful energy field fluctuations, let outwards to challenge the whole world. The king of Ennet is not so much a monarch as a lunatic who pursues ultimate power, placing the entire empire as a bet on the other side of the scale on the road to becoming a god. In the end, even one of the three heroes he supported had to give up on him. In fact, most of the original history was the process of the Royal Alliance destroying itself. Garen was lost in thought. What if the direction of these major events can be reversed? He knew in his heart that it would be difficult to reverse this trend, because it was the inner wish of countless people. Even if this trend was temporarily reversed, it would at most only allow the royal family to survive for a while. So where is his own way out? By this time, Garen no longer thought about the unrealistic idea of how to return to the original world. If his own safety and life and death could not be guaranteed, then it would be pointless to consider other things. In this world now, more and more mysterious phenomena of Guyinduo are revealed one by one, and the secrets hidden inside cannot be judged at all for a while. A large amount of information continued to flow in his heart, and the look in Garen's eyes became clearer and clearer. The ultimate strongest one in history is the Ghost Gate of Black Sky Society. He woke up from his slumber and quickly surpassed the royal family and reached the most powerful peak in history. Black Sky Society and I are already inevitable opposites. If you want to survive safely in the future and find the secrets you want to find, then you must reach the level of not being afraid of ghosts. This is the first thing. Second, find the real reason why I traveled here in the first place. It is possible that the legendary warlock once existed. The world is undergoing some strange changes, and perhaps some hidden secrets can be discovered. Mysterious Journey. Author, Gunkai. Chapter 393. In the evening, half of the pale golden sun hangs in the sky, and the light it emits is only a little warm. A small country region between Kuwait and Enid. Two groups of black mist flew across the plains, crossed the grasslands, and entered a sparse Khaki mountainous area. The soil in this mountainous area is bright yellow, and from time to time, dry, leafless, black and thin trees can be seen crookedly distributed on the mountainous land. In some places, bones and corpses that have not completely decomposed can be vaguely seen. Most are from mutant animals, but also from humans. Small flocks of black scavenger birds gathered together to feed. Garen looked down and saw some dark-skinned men with only a few rags hanging on their bodies, squatting next to the corpse, grabbing and chewing the carrion. As if aware of his gaze, the person below raised his head, revealing a rotten black face. There were empty black holes in the eye sockets, and some tiny black bugs crawled in and out of the nose. The mouth shape was no longer human, the entire chin and lips were gone, and the white gums were directly exposed to the air. There wasn't much meat left on this man, and the bones inside could be faintly seen. There are still many wounds on the body that have not healed, and the dark inside of the body can be seen from the outside. That man is still alive. Garen was a little stunned. What? Feng Ling looked at it in confusion, followed Garen's gaze and looked down, and was slightly stunned. It seems to be a person. Fly lower. Two masses of black mist descended slowly, hovering more than 10 meters above the pile of scavengers. Feng Chime also saw clearly the appearance of the person below. Suddenly he took a slight breath of air. What is this? A new mutant creature? I'm afraid not. Garen's face became a little heavy. Let's move on and see. The two of them were wrapped in black mist and continued flying forward. Soon a small human village appeared on the ground ahead. Some of the Khaki mud houses collapsed, while others were dilapidated and could barely hold on. It was quiet inside, with no one in sight. Looking from above, the entire village looks like an earthy yellow round cake, but it is full of holes and gaps. Soon, the two discovered a skinny black man on the right side of the village. This man was also squatting in front of a pile of carrion, munching greedily. This pile of carrion turned out to be a human corpse, a human man. The entire abdominal cavity had been hollowed out, and the internal organs were covered with bluish-white mold hairs. Buzzing flies kept swarming around the body. Go down and take a look, Garen said solemnly. Feng Chime also nodded. Both of them felt a little heavy at this time, and the situation was slightly out of control. Both of them thought of a terrible possibility. Two groups of black mist slowly descended and landed on the ground behind the thin black man. The mist dispersed and quickly returned to the pocket watch in Garen's hand. The two of them quietly looked at the human figure more than 10 meters away. This man's whole body seemed to be severely dehydrated. His skin was like dry wrinkled rags. Some had fallen off in large pieces with only a thread connected to his body. Some were full of holes, like tattered linen, which could be seen through. See the dry black muscle tissue underneath. As if he smelled something, the man suddenly stopped nibbling and turned around slowly. A pair of dull black eyeballs stared at the two people behind him. Hiss. He made a strange gasping sound, as if he was sniffing something vigorously. Are you still alive? Wind Chime shouted loudly. He quickly asked questions in multiple languages. Ouch. Suddenly, the opponent opened his arms and rushed towards the Wind Chime, waving at an unusually fast speed, as if there were springs under his feet and a bullet was fired at him. He opened his mouth wide, revealing sharp white teeth, and his eyes were greedy and naked. It was as if the wind chimes were a delicious meal in his eyes. Seeing the other party's irrational behavior, Feng Ling frowned slightly and raised his hand. Yellow tree roots suddenly emerged from the ground, entangling the man and tripping him to the ground. With a pop, the man was still struggling violently on the ground, clawing at the ground with his hands and staring at the wind chime, almost going crazy. But the roots of his legs continued to spread and soon wrapped around his waist, holding him firmly in place. "Forget it, let's go, this person is no longer a human being," Garen whispered from behind. Feng Chime glanced at the human figure on the ground. "I have a bad feeling." Same Garen turned around and released black mist. "Soon ahead will be the capital of this country. What exactly happened here? We should be able to find some survivors in the capital, and maybe we will find something." The two rolled up the black mist again and moved forward quickly. Above and below the ground, more and more humanoid figures appear from time to time, some of which are completely black, and some of which are red. Some of these people were chasing wildly, some were lying on the ground eating carrion, and some were doing certain actions repeatedly. There are more and more people like this, and they are getting denser and denser. The two of them passed by each other in mid-air, and their hearts became increasingly heavy. Soon, in less than an hour, the destination, this time, Vival, appeared in front of us. The capital city of this small country. The city is not big, just like a big yellow round cake spread on the ground. It was surrounded by a high cocky wall, but it was empty and too quiet inside. Looking from above, one can see tall and short khaki-colored buildings scattered among the trees, which are still in good condition. The streets were extremely deserted, with not a single soul in sight. The two of them slowly lowered their altitude, and the city below became larger and wider. The entire city is extremely huge. It can be seen from a high altitude. The whole city is divided into 4 blocks, and each block is divided into 4 blocks again. There are a total of 16 areas. Each area is densely distributed with hundreds of buildings, some large and some small. Tall and short. The two landed in a small area beside the city wall and landed directly on the top of a building. Compared to the entire small area, the two of them were like 2 little ants in a bathtub, inconspicuous. The two of them stood firmly on the edge of the roof and looked down. The streets below were littered with abandoned garbage heaps, some of which had turned black and it was hard to tell what they were. Some appeared to be large piles of clothing and food bag trash. But this is not the most eye-catching thing. The most eye-catching thing is that there are blood-red writings written everywhere on the walls of the building. I don't know what they mean. Garen looked at Wind Chime, who frowned and shook his head. It's not the language here, and it doesn't even look like the writing of any country. I prefer to believe that it is an unconscious graffiti. Garen also frowned slightly. This kind of blood-red graffiti is everywhere, on the walls, on the streets, on some carriages leaning on the roadside, and on street lamps. It's literally everywhere. These are scrawled and chaotic, very much like some kind of writing, occasionally mixed with some shapes like arcs and circles. Garen pulled the collar and pressed the small box on the collar. Is there anyone from the secret agency here? Some of them will reply right away. The wind chime over there also looked over to see if there was anyone else here. Soon, a rattling sound came from the black box. Then a muffled male voice of surprise came from inside. Hoo. I am Chavana, who is leading the team here. Are you Lord Eight-Headed Mist Crow? His voice was small and urgent, as if he was deliberately guarding against something. I am Mist Crow. What is the situation now? How did the city become like this? Where are you now? Garen asked directly. You'd better come over here. We'll explain the situation to you face to face when you get there. A wry smile came from the other side of the box. Our location is, Suddenly there was a scream from across the box, which seemed to come from a woman. Damn it! Kill him! Use magic! Leo! Chavana! Save me! Then there was a loud noise, and the box seemed to fall to the ground with a snap. Hello, Garen shouted hurriedly. No more sounds came from the box. There was only silence. Garen patted the box with an ugly look on his face. All public channels, is anyone still there? All agency members will answer the inquiry immediately. Immediately. After the box was switched to a public channel, it was still silent. The sky has gradually darkened. A gust of cold wind blew over, causing some thin wooden boards on the roof of the building to stir slightly. The crackling sound came from the box again, and there seemed to be some kind of noisy noise. Zi. The noise is getting louder and louder, even a little harsh. Snapped. Garen turned off the black box and looked at the wind chime beside him. The latter also looked more serious than ever before. It seems that the situation is not good, Feng Chime whispered. Something seems to be wrong in this country. It is not like a simple population being infected and mutating as we suspected. Garen nodded. The current situation is that we must first find those who came here first. Where are they? I have been exposed to a phenomenon in Mahakala before. Although I saw it from the data, it is very similar to our current situation. Let me check it. This is a self-made pointing disk. First, make sure we are the location and the geomagnetic intensity here. The wind chime took out a small white disk from the waste bag with a silver circle inlaid in the middle. He knelt down and knocked the small disk upside down on the ground. Then wait a few seconds before picking up the small disk. A clear white circle was immediately printed on the ground. Some fine dust in the circle was quickly arranged into a dust pointer, and there seemed to be these tiny scales on it. The wind chime carefully checked the pointer on the ground. No, the geomagnetism here shouldn't be like this. We must have been thousands of kilometers along the way. This is pointing. Suddenly, a new pointer formed inside the circle on the ground. The wind chime was slightly startled. Soon, the third pointer also appeared, the fourth, fifth, and sixth. A gust of wind blew by, and all the pointers scattered and disappeared. Wind chime was stunned. What's going on? Garen couldn't understand his method at all. I used the place where we started as the pole and set the starting point. After that, we can see how far we have traveled and the direction from the original pole. But now, it shows above. Feng Jie swallowed his saliva and said something speechless. What does it show? Garen frowned. It shows that we are only less than 1,000 kilometers away from our original position, Feng Ling said with some guilt.